Hello all, welcome to the next session on artificial intelligence in chemistry. And today we'll be looking at the fourth part of introduction to AI and its role in chemistry. So just to give a quick recall, in the previous session we looked at what are various data types, what is the need for data types. We understood that there were different types of data types like numerical. Again, in numerical we had categorization of continuous and discrete values. Again, in categorical, nominal and ordinal values. Boolean values, which are basically logical values, which are either 0 or 1. And then we looked at text and string data types, and finally we ended that with timestamp. We also looked at loading the data into a Python with the data file, and then we looked at an Excel sheet where we named them, what type of data types they are, and we also loaded the data into Google Colab notebook, and we looked at how do we load the data and look at the data types. So in this session we will do a quick revision of Python basics which are already covered, and we will try to do some exercises, and then we will be following it up with how do we install Python locally, maybe in the next part of this session, where we will install Python locally and execute the Python programs from a local machine. What is the need for it? Let's do a quick recap of a revision of whatever topics that we have covered. So here the objective is to cover the some of the important concepts of Python basics that you have already learned very quickly, and then go on to do some exercises. So these are exercises it's like do along exercises. You can also try to do it along with me as you are looking at the video. You can pause that, think for some time, try to do it by yourself. The idea is to do the same operations again and again till we get a good grip on it. Unless until we get a very good grip on the basics of Python, doing further topics like it could be data analytics or visualization or even inferential statistics or machine learning, AI might become a little difficult. So if you are not from a programming background, or if you are not from Python background, you don't have to worry it. Just follow us along with whatever topics that we are covering and practice them. At least during the class, you can just pause them, execute the same thing, and we will also be sharing the code for the sessions so that you can also do it along with us. So in this we will quickly cover the topics like print, what are variables, conditions, loops, lists, dictionaries and functions. To begin with print, so we are doing the print is basically if you want to print something on the screen, you would use a print. So the print can be either numbers or it can be the value of an operation. For example, if you look at the second line, it prints 8, right? Instead of plus, 5 plus 3 is 8. So it prints 8. It basically, and if you, there's a tip, if you want to print multiple items, you can either use comma or plus. You can try. Okay, you can try that as we go on and see what happens, right? So when you put a plus together or you put a comma, what happens? You can try. I'm just giving you hints on how do you look at this. And then you have variables. So what are variables? Here if you look at the screen, name is a variable, age is a variable, pi. Pi right now is a variable, but it's actually a constant, right? Pi value is actually a constant. But in Python, we don't explicitly define something as a constant or something as a variable. We consider, we take all of them as variables. But if we want to, we can define them as constants at a later point of time. But by and large, we go with the variable notations. And you have to remember that variables are case sensitive. Suppose if I type name is equal to Alice, and then when I'm printing it, I'm saying print capital NAME, you wouldn't get any value. Or age, say if I say print age, it actually prints 25. But if I say print capital AG, then it wouldn't actually give any value. So you have to remember that the variables it is case sensitive. So these are all the building blocks. Whenever you are learning any programming language, you will start with printing statement. There is also an input statement, we will come to that later, but you will start with a print statement, which is actually an output statement. There is also an input statement, we will come to that slightly later. Then you look at variables. Here there is one important point that you should remember, is that here the data types need not be declared. If somebody is looking at this program from a Java background or a C background, you would say, why you did not define name as a character array or as a string, or why you did not define age as an integer, or why you did not define pi as a float. I mean, these are all data types which you call string, right, or character array, right, or age is a number, right, discrete number. You will usually supposed to put an integer int, or pi value is a floating point, right, you would say float. But we didn't define them, because in Python there is no need to explicitly declare the variables. Okay, that means there is no explicit declaration of variables needed. Whatever is there on the right hand side, the variable will assume the data type. Suppose if you put name is equal to Alice, it will automatically assume name as a string, or if you put age as 25, it will automatically assume age as an integer. Or if you look at the pi, which is 3.14, it will automatically assume pi as a floating point. So variables need not be explicitly declared, point one. Second one, variables are case sensitive. In Python, variables are case sensitive. Then you have conditional statements. Now conditional statements is like a branching. Suppose if this, so for example, I have a barricade, right? If car is coming, I will open one gate. If it is a bike, I will open another gate. Basically an if condition. That means if the input is x, then I will do this. If the input is y, I will do the other thing. Okay, so in this case, what we are doing is, if the age is greater than or equal to 18, so here that greater than or equal to, which you see on your screen, is basically called as a logical operator. We will look at the various logical operators and numerical operators available, but please be aware that greater than or equal to is a logical operator. When you use single equal to, it is assignment operator, meaning you are assigning the value of 18 to age. Now in this case, when you look at this particular portion where you say greater than or equal to, you are saying if the age is greater than or equal to 18, then print adult, otherwise print minor. Now in other programming languages, after if condition you will either have a bracket or a flower braces, but in Python we use something called indentation. That means once if it is if condition, the next line has to be indented. It has to be 4 spaces or a tab indented, then else, right, then again. So indentation is very, very important. So in Python, indentation matters, right. So when you are writing a program, but unfortunately most of the Python editors will do the indentation automatically, meaning if you define the if line correctly and when you press enter, the next line the indentation will go automatically. You don't have to actually type it, it will automatically take care of it. Okay, so just be aware of that there is an indentation, otherwise you will get a syntax error. So that is the conditional statements. Then you have looping statements. That means you want to do an activity multiple times. Maybe every time there will be a slight change, but you want to repeat a particular activity, then in that case you will use a loop. For example, you want to print the numbers from 1 to 100, or you want to print only the even numbers from 1 to 100, or you want to print first 50 prime numbers, right. All these are looping statements. Then you have, again, this can be used with a for loop or it can also be used with a while loop. Now you might ask me, if for loop works, why do I even have to use a while loop, right. So there is a slight reason for using a while loop. So in for loop, basically you will have a condition. So in both of them, it checks the condition. So, if you look at the for loop, what it does is, if the range exceeds 3, then it will not print. Similarly, here if the range is, if the value becomes less than, from 0 it starts 0, -1, -2, -3, -4, sorry, 0, 1, it starts to print at 0. But the point is, so the next one we will look at loops. So, loops are something where you want to iterate the same thing again and again. So, when you want to iterate the same thing again and again as a sequence, you will basically look at writing a loop or a while condition. Both for loop and while condition does iterations. The only thing is that for loops iterate over a sequence. I mean, it basically iterates over a sequence. But whereas while loop, it will iterate till it reaches a particular logical condition. Suppose, see, when you have a for loop, you want to iterate for 10 times, then you will iterate for 10 times. But while loop is, you want to iterate till you get a specific output. Suppose you are iterating something for, like you are iterating, you want to run for 100 times, but in another case you want to iterate as long as you want a desired output. That is what it says, while loop repeats while the condition is true. As long as your condition is true, it will keep iterating. The moment that condition is not satisfied, then it will stop, right. For example, in physics, let us assume, okay, you want to repeat the iteration, you want to repeat a particular iteration till a specific temperature is not reached. So, if it is reaching more than 100 degrees, you do not want to do the same activity again and again. Maybe you are increasing the temperature or doing some operation. So, after a loop, it will check if the temperature has gone, is less than 100. Yes, true. It will do it again. Again it will check. Every time it will check if the temperature is less than 100. As long as that condition is true, it will keep doing it. Otherwise, once that condition is no more true, it will come out of the loop. So, it is a clear explanation of difference between a loop and a for loop. For example, the loop is used when known number of iterations are iterating a sequence, unknown iterations based on a condition. Structure for item in sequence, here you have something called as while location. Common usages you will use for list, range, strings. We will look at what are lists and stuff like that. Example is for I in range of 5. Here it will say till I is less than 5. So, when to use, you know how many times to loop, you do not know exactly how many times, right? You will use a while loop. Then followed by a list, okay. So, this is called as ordered mutable collection, right. So, when you want to, it is, you can think of it, people who know programming language, you can think it of like an array, okay. You can think it of an array. Now, many of you will be puzzled, 1, 2, 3. When I say fruits of 1, many of you might think it will return banana. It won't, because in list the count starts at 0. Fruits of 0 is 1. This is fruits of 1 and this is fruits of 2. So, always remember, not only here, even for looping the sequence or a range, the counting starts from 0, okay, not from 1. So, here when I say list of 1, it means that it starts at 0, 1, 1 is banana, okay. So, fruits dot append, that means that is what is a mutable, I can change it, I can add, okay. So, fruits dot append, meaning now I will add one more thing. So, that will become the third item, because 0th item is apple, first item is banana, second item is mango and the third item is orange. So, that is basically how you define a, how do you append to a particular this one. Then you have dictionaries. So, dictionaries is basically when you want to have a key value pair. That means I will define, now if you look at this, student name is John and for example, grade is 20, sorry, age is 20. So, what I am going to do is, now when I say student of name, automatically it will print the name, that is John. Okay. Now if I say age, it will print 20. And now I say student grade A, that means to the same student it will add one more portion called A, grade as A. That means that when I want to have, these are mainly used in some notations called JSONs, right. So later when you have a unique identifier, based on that identifier you will be able to get the details of that. Okay. That is basically dictionaries. And then finally you have functions. So whenever you want to, suppose if there are 10-15 lines of code and they do the same thing and you want to use it several times, then what you will do is you will make them into a definition. Okay. So definition is basically, now you can see this. Now when I say greet Rita, it will come back with a response as hello Rita, right. And functions also have something called as return values. We will look at this. So overall, these are some of the basic building blocks of the Python programming, right, which we have already covered in one of the earlier sessions. We just did a quick recap of that. Now what we will do is, to get it more clear, right, let us do some exercises. Okay, so here let us run. So as I have already told you that we are going to use Google Colab. In the previous class I have told you, if you are not aware or if you have not seen it, please go back and see how to create a Google Colab notebook. So you will have to just go to Google Colab, log in with your Gmail or your Google account, and then a new notebook will open. And in the new notebook you can start writing the code. Now here I am just making you get familiarized with the this one. So here you have file. So you can if you already have a Google notebook in your Google Drive, you can directly get it. Then you can open an existing one, open notebook, or if somebody else is giving you a notebook, you can load that notebook and you can rename, you can delete it, and so many things you can do. Okay. Now we will look at all the other options in some time now. So or maybe you can also see how am I doing. Okay. So here I have the first place where I am having an if condition. Okay. Now here if you look at, so let me expand it. So, yeah. So here you can see that here I am giving a value for x. So this is basically a variable. This is a variable. So here whenever you put something hash and after that you write, it is called as a comment. Comment means it will not execute. There is no syntax. Okay. So it is just for our understanding. You will write the comment. So here is a condition. If x is greater than 0, then it will print positive number. Else it will print a non-positive number. So I run this. Okay. So before I run, we need to connect. So if you don't connect, it will automatically start connecting. Okay. If before running, it will have to connect. Now you can see that it is basically giving you that this is a positive number. Now if I give 0, what happens? Is 0 a positive number or non-positive number? As per this logic, it is printing it as non-positive numbers. You can also think whether I am doing it right or not. Is 0 a positive number or a negative number, or is 0 neither a positive nor a negative number, right? So you will have to think about that. Okay. I am just leaving at that point. Then you have, see here, this is a case where you have only one branch. That means there is only one condition. If it is greater than 0, this is what happens. Else the other things happen. But in this case, I have multiple if conditions. That is, so that means I can have multiple conditions. It doesn't mean that it has to be just one condition. It can be multiple conditions. So here you can see that if it is greater than 100, then it is boiling. If it is greater than 0, then it is liquid. If it is otherwise, what is otherwise? If it is less than 0, it is freezing. That means you have another condition. So maybe I can also add one more condition. Else Elif, okay, temperature greater than 80, right? Hot liquid, okay, or maybe I can have one more condition. If it is greater than 60, I am just making it up, warm liquid. Okay. If it is greater than 0, cold liquid. Basically, what I am trying to say here is you can have multiple conditions. It need not be just one condition. Okay, you can have multiple conditions, and based on the value, the output will come. So it is greater than 0, but less than 60. So it is coming as cold. Right? Suppose if I give -7, let's see what happens. It is freezing, right? So this is another one. Okay, so I have given you some examples to work on. Check if a number is odd or even. Determine if the year is leap year or a non-leap year. Okay, you can just work out. I have also given you the solutions at the end of the notebook. This notebook will also be shared, but before attempting that, you can also do that. How do you do that? Is you can just click here and click on code. It will open up a new coding line here. So you can code here. So wherever you want to insert the code, you can insert it. Suppose if you want to move this code above, you can click this, it will go up. If you want to press this, it will come down. So what I am expecting you to do is just get yourselves your hands dirty with all working in all these areas, so that you will get a better idea about that. So coming back, so here I am just saying either you can try here, or I have given you the solutions at the end, you can also work on it, but I am just giving you some things to practice for. Then loop, okay, so for I in the range of 1 to 6, okay, so when you start the range from 1 to 6, it will start from 1, but if you start I in the range of 6, it will start from 0 to 5. You have to remember, if I say 1 comma 6, go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if I am saying 1 to, if I do not say anything, just I give as 5, then it will, or 6, it will go from 0 to 5. You can play around with this. You can play around with this. What will happen if I only give 5 or only 6? What if I give from 1 comma 6? What happens? You can just play around. Here also, though it starts from 1, okay, suppose if I do not say start from 6, okay, then it will start from 0, okay, but if I do not want to start from 0, I say 1 comma 6, right. Then though it ends at 5, okay, it will basically starts at 1. So you can basically say where to start with. Suppose if I want to say 3, then it starts at 3 and goes till 6, means third item, fourth item, fifth item. Sorry, 3 means 3, if it starts at 3, but if you want to go till 6, then you have to make this as 7. Hope you are getting that point, okay. So because you see it starts at 0, right. So 7th element, we are not saying 7th number, saying 7th element. 7th element is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay. So that is the point. So you have to be very careful with that. So this is an example where I am doing a countdown, okay. I am counting from 5 till 0. Right? So in a loop or a sequence, you can either count forward or backward. So if you put a this is what we call it as increment or decrement. So we are saying decrement by 1, okay, count minus equal to 1, okay. It's a very tricky statement. It basically means that we are doing a decrement. So in the decrement, there are two types of things. One is called as post increment and pre increment. Now suppose if I put here instead of equal to, if I put here, right, now I get only 5, but if I say, if I put it here, then it is slightly different. So I would recommend you to try to explore what is this post increment and pre increment, okay. Basically, we are decreasing the values here. And similarly, I have asked you to do some practice. Print first 10 multiples of 3. Basically, 3 table, right? Sum of all the even numbers from 1 to 100. Then let us go to the next one where we are talking about functions. Okay. So in functions, what we are doing is we are saying we are just defining a function. Def, this is the function. Okay. Now I can actually call that in the next line. So now I am defining a function. So just the function is defined. Now I am going to. So it adds both these values and gives me the answer. Now I have also added a function for factorial, right? Factorial of 5 is 120, right? Then we have something called lists. So I have several elements in chemistry, H, He, Li, Be, B. Based on the periodic table, we have given some numbers, and these are the elements. I just ask it to print. It just prints them, right? Then I have another list where I want to get the average, right? How do I get the average? Sum is a function. Okay, this is a function. You see, this is sum is a function. There are two types of functions. One is the function that we define. For example, here we have defined a function add. The function name is add. Okay, so there is a function which we are defining it. This is a inbuilt function. Okay, so an inbuilt function is already when Python comes up, Python comes with some predefined set of functions. For example, sum. So sum of temp means if you give a list of values, so temperature is a list. In this case, the temperature is the list. Okay, temperature is the list. So if you give a list of values, okay, the list of values are stored in temperatures. So temperatures is a variable. Temperatures is a variable. So the list of temperatures is basically stored in the list called temperatures, and you say sum, it will basically add all of them and give the values. Again, len means length. Len means length. It will count how many values are there. It will count how many values are there. So what is, we all know the formula for average, sum of all numbers divided by the number of values. So sum will give the sum of all values and length will give the number of values, and then you get the average. The average temperature is this much, right? Then you have dictionaries. As I have already told you, whenever you want to have the combination of names and weights, you will basically do this. So see, now here I have defined a new object. See, till now in the first line I had only hydrogen, I had oxygen, and I have Na, sodium. And but here when I am saying atomic weights, I am adding a new object C and Tel. So I am adding a weight of the carbon. I am not sure that is the exact weight, but yeah, I am adding the. So when I say atomic weights, all of them come up. So this is basically an example of dictionary, right? Now I am saying looping through the dictionary. So I want to loop it through all the dictionary and display the values. So hydrogen, right, is equal to, so this is basically this is what we call it as concatenation. Concatenation means to the existing value we are adding something else. Okay, to the existing value we are adding something else. So especially a string. So for a existing value, when you are adding a string, you basically call it as a concatenation. So in this case, we are just concatenating the grams per mole. Okay, this is the grams per molecule is what we are concatenating to this one. So this is looping through the dictionary and displaying all the values, right? So these are all the example problems that I have given earlier. I have also listed out the solution. So I will be sharing you this Google sheet. Okay, I will be sharing you this Google Colab sheet, and you can also run through them. This is basically reiterating the Python concepts we just learned. Okay, then some other simple concepts of chemistry, which I am just trying to add it from a chemistry standpoint, whatever topics we have seen very quickly. So I want to print these values. hello chemistry, right? And I want to add this one, right? So just say hello chemistry. Avogadro number is 6.023 into 10 to the power of 23 or E. So I'm just printing it. There is no operation here. And then these are all the various type of variables. So here grams, right? Molar mass, then moles. So I know the mass, I know the molar mass. I want to count how many moles are there, right? So number of moles is equal to mass by the molar mass, right? So if you give the, if you know the mass, again just to show you that this is the operator. So if you look at the Python, there are different types of operators as we just discussed, right? All numeric and logical, logical and assignment operators in Python. Just this is just the comment, okay? I am just giving you the comment for that. So these are all the various operators that are available. For example, plus is called arithmetic operators. Okay, what are the arithmetic operators? These are the arithmetic operators. Arithmetic operators are addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. There is something called floor division. I would expect you to go and understand, maybe try doing what is floor division. Modulo operator. Modulo operator is nothing but if you want to get the remainder of a particular operation, like say 5 by 2, when I divide 5 by 2, the remainder is 1, right? So when you want to get the remainder, you would do a modulo operator. Then you have exponential operation. The exponential operation is given by star star. Then these are called comparison operators. Equal, double, if you put 2 equal to, if you want to compare whether two values are same, two variables are same, then you will use double equal to. This is not equal to, this is not equal to, this is greater than, this is greater than, this is less than, this is greater than or equal to, this is less than or equal to. So these are all called various numerical operators, various logical operators. That is, whenever you want to compare two numbers or two variables in general, you will use a comparator operators, right? Now you have assignment operators, where equal to is an assignment operator, plus add and then assign, minus equal to, subtract and then assign, okay, multiply and then assign, okay, then divide and assign. So these are all called assignment operators. And then you have logical operators, and or not. And means, if I am saying I want the weather to be sunny and the temperature to be greater than 30 degrees, I want both of them to satisfy, that is called as logical and operation. Or I either want it to be sunny or the temperature to be greater than, so that is or. Not, I don't want it to be cloudy, that's a not, okay. Then there are bitwise operations, we will see them later. Then you have is, identity operators is what we call is not, and then membership operators. We will get to that. But you have to have an understanding that there are various type of mathematical, logical and assignment operators in Python. Okay, so we will be sharing you this Google Colab notebook as well, and you can look at them. I'm just giving you a heads up on what it will be and how it will be. Okay, and here is an example, just to give you an idea of how things work. For example, I know I want to convert from Celsius to Kelvin. Okay, Celsius to Kelvin is Celsius plus 273.15. Okay, so now if I say 40, then I run, I get this value, right? So just a very basic thing. All I am saying is you can, so this is basically a constant value, you are adding it to this. Now the same thing, just observe what happens in another case, okay. So let me say first name is Kaushik, second name is Raghavan. Now when I use a concatenation operator, okay, now I say print first name comma second name. So it prints Kaushik Raghavan. Or what I can do is I can also say Kaushik plus Raghavan. But the space is not there. Do you observe? In the previous case, space automatically came. Here the space did not come. So then what I have to do? I have to add one more plus and then add that space also in between. Right? Then I do this. So you have to be very careful of how you are using it. The same plus operator when used between numbers will do addition. Okay. When the same operation used between numerical values will do addition. The same when you are using it, let us say age. I add one more. I am 16 years old. So I add that age also. Plus age. Now here you see what happens. Now it throws an error because this is not a, this is an integer. You are trying to add an integer to the string. You are trying to add an integer to the string. So what you can actually do is, now what I did is that age, which is actually a number, I converted that into a string, right. This is what we call it as typecasting. Typecasting means wherever possible, see, you cannot convert a string into an integer, that is not possible. I give Kaushik, convert into integer, not possible. But if there is a age 16, I can ask Python to consider that as a string, then I will say str. So that operation of converting from one data type to another data type is called as typecasting. So this is an example of typecasting, right. So point is, I am trying to give you as many examples as possible so that you get used to the notations of Python, because as we go on we might write much larger programs. So you should not feel uncomfortable or difficult or overwhelming when we do that. That is why take your time and start practicing all these things. So for example, here I have had another example where based on the pH value I want to tell whether it is acidic, neutral or basic. Right? So I run it now. So if it is, I defined a function. I defined a function called check pH. Check pH 5.4 less than 7 acidic, equal to 7 neutral, basic. So practice with as many examples as possible. Here is another example of dictionary where I am trying to add all the objects to the dictionary, where I am adding hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, nitrogen, all these things to that. So it is basically a dictionary of objects. Then comes a very simple plotting. I want to plot the temperature against the rate. Okay, this matplotlib, okay, is a library for plotting. We will look at very extensively of plotting different things. Especially there is something called Smiles notation in chemistry, where we will see how we can plot the chemicals also. Okay, but just to give you an introduction, that we can basically start plotting something like this. Here what I am doing is I am plotting the temperature against the reaction rate, right. So this is basically plotting, and I have given you a lot of exercises along with the solutions at the bottom. Please go through them and practice as much as you can. Okay, this is basically giving you a sense of idea what you should be practicing at. Okay, so again, what if you don't know, just at the bottom of the thing I have added all the solutions also. But first, don't jump to the solutions. Please try them manually. Get yourself used to the what you call Python and Colab notebook, so that you will be able to write much faster code at a later point of time.